So, doing just a quick presentation on my book that I just wrote. It's called The Six Black Holes Every Parent Must Help Their Child Avoid. Um, and my name's Tim Tendall. Just wanted to offer that up and let you know who you're talking to. Um, so, basically, after 30 years, almost 30 years of rearing kids, and we've had over 17 kids through our house and different levels of care, different levels of issues, trauma, of neglect, and all these different things. So we've dealt with a lot. So the reason I wrote the book was just to help parents. I mean, it's kind of a guide for today's parenting and what just some basic things that we can do that helps pull everything together and it helps our kids to function. Gives them understandings of what's to be expected and what they can be expecting to see and that kind of thing. So, and who the book's for? It's for parents of all kinds, blended family, foster family, just your standard bio family. Everybody can use information from this book and help them to be able to structure their home and get acceptance with their kids and really just help set the kids up for success. Because I know a lot of families that don't have these things in place, it just causes all kind of chaos. So, what do kids need both? They need love, but they also need leadership. They need our leadership, us as parents, to come along and show them what it looks like to be doing parenting, and that can start from early on of just cooking in the kitchen and doing chores, different stuff like that. It's also acceptance without surrender. So kids need to know that they're accepted, and they also need to feel that acceptance, but then not surrender that acceptance to letting them do whatever they want to, because that's even more chaotic. Um, and one of our kids needs structure. It helps them understand and have some predictability in their life and just know what to expect in from a day-to-day standpoint. So weak boundaries cause anxiety, not freedom. And so that's something I've seen with a lot of families is that they just don't have the boundaries in place for their kids, and they don't, and they vary. The boundaries vary depending on their level of exhaustion. And I know as parents, sometimes we just aren't ready to have that fight for the fifth time. But having these things in place will actually help eliminate some of those fights. Will it make everything perfect? Absolutely not. But I mean, it just gives us a whole lot more things to work with, a lot more tools to work with, and it helps. Parents have a role of calm authority. So I mean, if you blow up on everything, kid spills milk and spills ice or whatever, and you blow up, that's something that got to be worked on. And and it starts with us, right? So I mean, I'm a bit of a hothead, but I mean, I had to learn how to control that and help my kids, be able to look at me and know that I'm a safe place and that I'm predictable. And I had to become predictable for them. Um, and there's some house rules that make everything easier. Some clear expectations, consistent consequences, calm correction. Don't, like I said, don't blow up on everything. And then there's also, earning trust and privileges. They need to know that, as they do these different things, that they need to earn the trust. They need to earn the privilege to do different things. And these different, some parents just give their kids screen time. It's like, no, that's earned. So why parents mustn't stop negotiating everything. So there's some things that you're going to say this like, and the kid's going to be wondering why. And it's just like, because I'm the parent and it's what it's got to be. So some things don't need to be negotiated. Just is I'm the parent and this is why, or I'm the parent, so therefore this is a rule and this is meant to protect you. So, we don't need to have an explanation on everything. And I know, like, I mean, 0 to 4 kids are really malleable and they can get set into these routines really easily and just know what to expect, like clockwork, nap time and dinner time and lunchtime, all these different things, right? But then as they get older, when they get to like the 8 to 10 time frame, or 5 to 8 time frame, that's when they were filling in the whys about why we're doing this and why we're doing that kind of thing. And it helps them understand, what we do and why we do it and how we do it as a family. And then from the probably 8 to 10, they're starting to build their own, 8 to 10, 8 to 12, something like that. They're kind of starting to build some of their own, what's the word I'm looking for? Their own self-being, their own self-worth, and where their words matter. So, and then of course 13 to 18, and that's a huge spectrum, but I mean 13 to 18 is where we're kind of coming in more as a counselor and helping them learn how to think and how to do things and how to be self-sufficient. So, and that's just some of the development stages. Um, but how do you handle things like how you handle disrespect, defiance, and chaos? And why calm matters, because like I said, the kid needs to know what to be able to expect, and if you're blowing up on everything, that's going to set up a whole lot of chaos and just really tough conversations and a lot of fights, because kids will pick up on that. Instead of being able to check in with you and see that things are okay, they're going to need to fill the room and figure out if there's a stormy mom or dad, or if there's just or if it's a good mom or dad. So it's kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, right? So, and then one of the things that can be powerful when you're having a conversation with your kid, or you got to correct them or whatever, if you can make a connection and just, hey, look, I see you, I feel you, I understand you, but at the same time, we can't be doing this. And this is why, or whatever, however you need to go about doing that. That's going to be really powerful for them, and helping you and them both learn how to correct and handle disrespect and that kind of thing. And then correcting disrespect in the moment. Basically, in my house, I've got kids and grandkids. I got 2 foster girls right now, and I got grandkids that come over, all the time. And if they are disrespectful, it's like, excuse me, we're not doing that. Try again. Or, when you're calmed down, then we can have a conversation. But we're not talking like this right now. So you need to take a breath, or I need to take a breath because you're pushing my buttons. So, and that's okay too. And not over talking. We as parents, I know I did it. My dad did it really bad, and I did it a little bit, and I've gotten way better at it. But you can over-explain things and just drone on, and it does not help kids. You lose them after a couple minutes, and they're just like off in la la land. And yeah, you're just speaking to yourself. So no, don't over-talk. Following through on your threats and on your you say this thing's going to happen if you do that again or whatever. You have to follow through with that, and that means groundings. You have to make sure they're grounded and make sure they're not playing with their phones, or make sure they're not doing this or not doing that, because they lost those privileges. And it's hard. I mean, because it's hard on us. We want to be able to hang out with kids and just goofball and stuff sometimes, and it's hard to do when they're grounded. So you got to follow through with that stuff. Empty threats, that hurts kids a lot, and the reason being is because they just learn to understand that your threats don't mean anything. Therefore, they can just push a little harder, or they can push that line a little more, because you're not going to back up what you say. So, and if those are issues, that's fine. You just need to reset the tone of the house, and it can be done. And it's not terribly difficult. It is going to be at the very beginning more difficult, simply because they're going to push back. They're like, well, they got to see that you actually mean it and that you're actually going to stick it through. So, now going into the 6 black holes, that was just kind of some preliminary stuff, right? But the 6 black holes, the first one's internet danger, and that can be anything from pornography to sexting and sextortion, child predators and grooming, cyberbullying, social media comparisons, and mental health stuff. I mean, this day and age, I don't know about your parents, but I mean, I know if I spend too much time online, I'm just like, ugh, I feel like crap. So, and then deep fake and disappearing messages and secret accounts, stuff like that. Phone rules, app rules, and the device rules. Those are a privilege. You don't have to have a phone. You don't have to have Wi-Fi access. So that can get shut off real quick, and it needs to be earned. And it has to be earned by you being present and checking in on their devices, checking in on what they're doing, making sure they don't have the disappearing accounts and the disappearing messages and stuff like that, secret accounts, because that stuff can be really detrimental to them. And for these things like this, we want to explain, hey guys, here's why, right? Because if you just say, don't do this because I'm the parent, yeah, that's kind of tough luck enforcing that. Okay, it's just going to be a constant battle. But if you can give them valid reasons and why, as to why, it'll help them understand what the thinking is and what the dangers are, because there's some legit dangers out there. There's some sicko freakers out there, and we got to set our kids up for success, otherwise they will fail. So, and then I'm going to go to the next 5 of the 6 black holes. Alcohol is one of them. I think everybody in this nation has got somebody that's been touched by alcoholism or knows an alcoholic or knows someone that has an alcohol problem or whatever. So it's just as far as with my family, they weren't given it early and often, but they were introduced to, I'm not going to be around, and you're going to hang out with friends, and you're going to have a chance to use alcohol. Here's why we don't want to do that, and just understanding why utilizing that stuff can be so detrimental, especially when the brain's growing. It is hugely detrimental. Peer pressure and the need for parental clarity, making sure that you've had these conversations, and then signs of what to look out for. There's all kind of things we can be watching out for. So, what does strong prevention look like? Not having it accessible at home, or if it is, having it locked up. Not because you don't trust your kids, because you don't give them that option. So, and then drugs. I'm in a state that legalized marijuana, so it's everywhere. And again, that's stuff that our kids are going to be subjected to. So having those conversations early and often about how to not use it, how to not be subjected to that peer pressure. If you go to a party and they're passing it around and you need out of there, just give me a call. There's no questions asked. But there's also, everybody's doing it. There's the boredom, there's belonging, there's escape, there's all kind of things that go into this. And then monitoring relationships and risks that are associated with it. And then what you can do, at first suspicion, if you start thinking that maybe your kid's getting involved with this stuff or whatever. So they can be very detrimental. The third black hole, or the fourth black hole, is going to be sex. Sex is going to be a constant thing, a constant ability to do also, right? So and lots of kids are pushed into it. And back in the day, it was spin the bottle. I'm sure there's all kind of crazy crap now where you're subjected to these different peer pressures. So talking to your kids early and often about these different things, and just giving them a moment to what can they do in their own brain. How would they respond? How do you want to respond? How do you want to be known? Because you'll be known one way or the other. You want to be known as being that girl or that guy. So having those conversations, and then having understanding and helping them understand your values, and your boundaries, and being honest. And look, we as parents need to share some of the things that we experienced growing up, not so that we tell them we were hooligans or whatever, but so that they understand that we do have an understanding of what some of these peer pressures are. So number 5 is suicide, and every kid will deal with either having suicidal ideations or knowing a kid who does. So again, it's just another conversation that we've got to start having early and often. I did this very, very often with my kids, not as much as I should have. It kind of came more with the later kids, the foster kids and stuff that we had, just because, I could see where if you didn't have that conversation, somebody else would. So that's where, just having that conversation, coming in early and often, and making sure that they know you're a safe place, and that, look, if you need to get out of a situation, or you're at a party or whatever, and you need somewhere to get out of there, you can just text me and I'll call you and be like, yeah, you got to come on, blah blah blah. And I'm the bad guy. So I'll be the bad guy. I don't care, right? For them, right? And then felony behavior. How peer pressure can turn into a quick influence, and that how impulsive choices can have life-changing consequences. Stealing, assault, vandalism, weapons, threats, online crimes, all this stuff turns into felony really quickly if you're not careful. So having those conversations about what that looks like and what to do and not to do, it's a big deal. So, and then in this book, I had like a parenting playbook, how to know where they are, know who they're with, know what they're doing online, which patterns to look out for, not just an instance. And then building regular check-ins, having those normal conversations. One thing that's big in our house is we have family dinners, and if we try to have those 4 or 5 times a week. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But it's what we shoot for, is having those conversations, those family dinners, so that we can check in every day and know that what's happening with our kids. And then building those regular check-ins, and then creating a rhythm around conversations about, if we have a conversation every night and something goes way awry, I'm going to notice, and my wife's going to notice. So, and then keeping consequences connected to the behavior. So, if there's some behaviors happening that need to be corrected, we got to call that out and let them know that, hey, we're here to love you and support you, but we're also going to, kick you in the butt when you need it. So that's because we love you. So, and then protecting those connections while enforcing boundaries. You can't be all stick, right? It's got to be some carrot, some stick. So, and then what to do when first steps happen, first signs of problems and stuff. What not to do, how to, let's not overreact and freak out, but we got to have a conversation and see what's going on, and then when to tighten up the boundaries and when to do it fast, and when to bring in outside help, getting both parents and caregivers involved. So if we got parents and step parents and foster parents and everything else, we're getting everybody to the table, and we're gonna try and work on this. And if it's not safe for the kids' sake, because one parent's going to go berserko, then we got to figure that out, right? So, and then how do you rebuild trust after damage is done, right? Part of it is apologizing and repairing and working on that, and then just being able to have those conversations. And if you have those conversations often enough, then it'll be easy to be able to do that. And then building in a safe home that feels safe and strong, respect, accountability, emotional safety, routines, shared meals as a touch point, like I said, or touch points themselves, repair after conflict, and hope and forward and momentum or movement. And then finally, I want to be an encouragement to parents, because sometimes we have such a high bar to ourselves that it can be easy to fail. And it's not okay for us to fail. Sometimes we feel like that. So having that area where progress over perfection is going to be key, right? And you got to be willing to call out when you do good and when you do bad. It's going to happen one way or the other. And, we just need to be able to have that conversation and be real with our kids, right? And then why it's never too late to start leading. Because, small changes can start making some big progress. And then having a voice that matters for the kids and for yourself, and making sure you're both heard. And then there's hope for tired parents. And then in the back of the book, I've got all kind of bonus tools and stuff, some templates, some red flag checklists, that kind of thing. So, but I just wanted to mention these 6 black holes, and kind of how you can set up structures in your home and boundaries in your home that'll really make some of these issues a moot point. Because if you have the solid routines in place, and they know what to expect, and they know when to expect it and how to expect it, then it cuts out a whole lot of arguments and a whole lot of conversations and a whole lot of blow-ups and all these kind of things, because they know what they're expected to do, and they'll typically just fall in line. Now, was that perfect? No, absolutely not. But it works with even foster kids. So, it works with bio kids, foster kids, blended family kids, the whole 9 yards. But differing levels, right? So, I want to encourage you to get this book, and I'm really proud of it. I'm hoping that you can get lots of value from it, and I'd be happy to tell you more about it if you want to reach out to me. So, have a great day.